two families bound not by love but by power, wealth, and reputation, ruled over Lagos business empire like twin titans. The Adeyemis and the Olawales had fortunes woven into steel, oil, and politics. Before we continue the story, please subscribe, like, and comment. There were names spoken with reverence, names that made doors open and knees bend. One evening, in the grand hall of the Adeyemi mansion, a private dinner was held not of choice, but of arrangement. The chandeliers dripped golden light over the polished mahogany table, where whispers of legacy floated heavier than the scent of roasted lamb. Ade, his father's voice thundered, firm yet deceptively calm. The Olawales have agreed. You and Simi will be married before the year ends. This is a union that will secure our dynasty. Ade's heart sank. His chest tightened as if iron bands had been strapped around him. He forced a smile that never touched his eyes. Simi, seated across the table, lowered her lashes to hide the joy dancing in her gaze. She had always wanted this, always wanted him. Ade, however, had never been able to stand her. Dates were arranged to bring them closer. On each occasion, Simi revealed more of the arrogance she wore like a crown. At a five-star restaurant, she snapped her manicured fingers at a young waiter, her voice dripping venom. "Are you deaf?" I said, "Sparkling water, not this trash." When the boy stuttered an apology, Simi grabbed a glass of wine and poured it on the waiter's uniform. The room gasped, but Simi only leaned back smugly, brushing invisible dust off her silk blouse. Ade's jaw clenched. "Was that necessary, Simi?" he asked under his breath. "Yes," she replied with a toss of her hair. "Servants should know their place. And Ade, you really should stop smiling at every beggar and peasant you see. It makes you look cheap." Her words cut him like shards of glass. He didn't respond, but inside, something burned a longing for kindness, for gentleness, for love. And each time he felt that ache, his eyes betrayed him. They drifted toward Bola. Bola had lived in the Adeyemi mansion since she was 10. Her mother, once a maid in the household, had died suddenly, leaving Bola alone. Out of pity, or perhaps duty, the Adeyemis kept her on as a maid. Now in her early 20s, Bola carried herself with quiet grace, her beauty hidden beneath plain uniforms and modesty. She moved silently, spoke rarely, but her eyes, warm and tender, spoke more than words ever could. Ade noticed. He noticed the way her smile softened the harshest of days. He noticed how she treated the gatekeepers, the cooks, the gardeners, with respect, as though they were equals. And he noticed how, when Simi lashed out at her, Bola lowered her head and endured, her dignity unbroken. It pained him, but he could not speak. His parents' threats echoed in his ears. "Defy us, Ade, and you will be cut off. Everything gone." So he stayed silent. When Ade's parents traveled abroad, they invited Simi to move into the mansion for a while. It was meant to strengthen their bond. But the house became unbearable. Simi unleashed her cruelty on Bola with unrestrained venom. She screamed about wrinkled bedsheets, hurled insults over slightly salty soup, and once, in a fit of rage, poured hot tea across the maid's arm. "Do you enjoy watching her suffer?" Ade finally demanded one evening. Simi smirked. "Oh, darling, don't tell me you care for the help." Ade said nothing, but his silence was louder than words. That night, after Simi left for a club, Ade found Bola quietly folding laundry in the servants' quarters. "Come," he said gently. "Sit with me in the parlor. Just for tonight." Bola hesitated, fear flickering in her eyes. What if she finds out? What if your parents? Forget them. Just tonight, please. Reluctantly, she followed. They sat side by side, watching a film neither of them truly saw. Wine blurred their laughter into something freer, something warmer. And in that unguarded moment, the walls they had built against the world crumbled. One kiss, one embrace, one night that changed everything. Dawn slipped through the tall windows of the Adeyemi mansion, spilling pale gold across velvet curtains and marble floors. Ade stirred, his heart pounding even before his eyes opened. He turned his head, and there she was, Bola. Her hair tumbled loosely across her face, her breathing soft and steady, her uniform crumpled beside her like a forgotten chain. For a moment the world outside ceased to exist. No dynasties, no threats, no see me, only the warmth of her presence. But reality crept back quickly. His chest tightened as he thought of what this meant. This wasn't just a mistake, it was a rebellion. Bola awoke slowly, her lashes fluttering open. For an instant, panic flashed across her face. She sat up, gathering her clothes. "Ade, what have we done?" He reached for her hand, stopping her trembling fingers. "What we were meant to," he whispered. "Bola, last night. It wasn't wrong. Not to me." Tears shimmered in her eyes. "But it will destroy you. It will destroy me." "No," he said firmly. "The only thing destroying me is living a life chained to someone I don't love." But even as he said it, his father's voice thundered in his mind, "Defy us, Ade, and you will be cut off. Everything gone." In the days that followed, the mansion became a battlefield of silence and stolen glances. Ade would find himself watching Bola as she moved about her duties, her head lowered, her steps careful, as though nothing had happened. Yet when their eyes met, the air between them thickened heavy with memory, with longing, with fear. Simi, however, was not blind. At first, she dismissed Ade's distance as nerves, but as nights passed, her sharp instincts stirred. She noticed how Ade's gaze no longer lingered on her, how his laughter sounded hollow at dinners, how he disappeared for long stretches, always returning with a calmness that infuriated her. One afternoon, she caught Bola in the hall, carrying a tray of tea. "You there?" Simi snapped, her voice slicing through the air like glass. "Why do you always seem so pleased with yourself? Have you forgotten your place?" Bola froze, lowering her head. "I'm sorry, Ma." "Sorry?" Simi's lips curled into a sneer. She stepped closer, her perfume suffocating, her eyes cold. "You walk around here with those big innocent eyes as if the world owes you something. Remember who you are. A maid, nothing more." Ade, standing at the top of the staircase, heard every word. His fists clenched, his heart thundered. But he swallowed his rage, for he knew an outburst would only make Simi watch Bola more closely. That night, Ade led Bola to the old garden at the edge of the mansion grounds. Overgrown hedges and wilting roses shielded it from the world adieu. Forgotten corner where his grandmother once prayed. Here, he felt safe. Here he could breathe. "Bola," he said softly, taking her hand. "I don't care what my family thinks. I don't care what the Olawales demand. I care about this. About you." Her lips trembled. "You say that now, but when they strip everything from you, your inheritance, your name, what then?" "Ade, I have nothing, and I will not be the reason you lose everything." He stepped closer, his thumb brushing away a tear that slipped down her cheek. "Then let me lose it. Let me choose love over chains." But even as those words fell, a shadow stirred among the roses. A figure had followed them. Simi. She stood frozen, her eyes widening as realization struck. Her lips parted, her breath sharp with rage. The next morning, the mansion trembled with tension. Simi descended the staircase in a satin gown, her expression deceptively calm. At the table, she smiled sweetly at Ade's parents. "Mr. and Mrs. Adeyemi," she said lightly, her red lips curling with venom. "Did you know your beloved son has been sneaking around with a servant girl in your house?" The words struck like thunder. Ade's father's face turned to stone. His mother gasped, her hand flying to her chest. Ade rose from his seat, his eyes blazing. "Enough, Simi. Enough?" She laughed bitterly. "Do you think you can humiliate me, Ade? Do you think you can throw away everything our families built for the sake of some peasant girl?" His father slammed a fist onto the table. "Is this true, Adekonal?" Silence hung heavy. Ade looked at Bola, who stood trembling in the corner, her tray shaking in her hands. Then he looked back at his father. His voice was steady, but his heart pounded. "Yes, it's true." Gasps filled the room. His mother whispered, "Oh, Ade," while his father's face darkened like a gathering storm. "You dare defy us?" His father roared. "For her?" "Yes," Ade replied, his voice firm, his eyes never leaving Bola. "For her." That confession set everything ablaze. Please subscribe, comment, and turn on your notification button. Whispers spread like wildfire among the elite circles of Lagos. The Adeyemis, the Olawales, once untouchable, were suddenly the subject of ridicule and scandal. Simi unleashed her fury like a woman scorned. She hired private investigators, bribed servants, and even threatened Bola directly. "You'll regret the day you set foot in this house," she hissed one night, her nails digging into Bola's arm. Meanwhile, Ade's father summoned him to the study. The air was heavy with cigar smoke. "You are no son of mine," he spat. "If you walk this path, you walk it alone. No inheritance, no company shares, nothing." Ade's chest tightened, but his resolve did not waver. "Then I will walk it alone." The words hung in the air like a verdict. Ade's father, Chief Adeyemi, stared at him with eyes as cold as granite. "You are a fool," the man spat, his deep voice cracking with fury. "Do you know how many men would kill to take your place? To inherit what you stand to throw away for a maid?" Ade's fists clenched, but he held his ground. "What good is an empire, father, if the cost is my soul?" His father slammed his cane against the floor. "Get out of my sight before I disown you publicly." Ade bowed his head once, but inside he felt lighter. A strange sense of freedom coursed through him. He turned and walked out, every step a break from the chains that had bound him all his life. But freedom had its price. From that day, The mansion grew hostile for Bola. Simi turned every servant against her. Whispered rumors painted her as a seductress, a schemer who had trapped the heir. Doors slammed in her face. She ate alone, slept poorly, lived in constant dread. Yet in the shadows of her suffering, Ade was her anchor. He sought her out in hidden corners, leaving small gifts of books she once admired, a shawl for her shoulders when the nights grew cold. He spoke softly to her, telling her of his dreams, not of boardrooms and contracts, but of a life by the ocean, where the waves drowned out the noise of power and pride. But Bola's heart was not as fearless. "Ade," she whispered one night as they sat beneath the stars, "they will destroy me. They will never let this stand. I can endure their cruelty, but I cannot endure seeing you broken because of me." Ade cupped her face in his hands. "You are the only thing keeping me whole." Simi's fury deepened into obsession. She stalked the halls like a queen dethroned, her satin gowns rustling like storms. In society gatherings she forced laughter, pretending all was well, but her eyes burned with venom. One evening at a cocktail party filled with Lagos elite, she cornered Ade. "You think this ends with you and her running off into the sunset?" she hissed, her breath sharp with champagne. "You don't know me. Ade, I will burn this city down before I let you humiliate me." Ade leaned closer, his voice calm but cutting. "Then let it burn, Simi, but you won't burn us." Her lips curved into a cold smile. "We'll see." It didn't take long for Simi to act. One night, Bola was summoned by Chief Adeyemi himself. She entered his study, her heart pounding. The air smelled of leather and smoke, and his gaze was sharp enough to pierce through her soul. "You think you're clever," he said, his tone quiet but deadly. "You think by spreading your legs for my son, you can climb out of the gutter your mother left you in?" Bola's knees trembled, but she refused to cry. "I never wanted his money. I never wanted your power. I only—" Silence. He slammed his hand against the desk, making her flinch. "You will leave this house tomorrow. Leave Lagos. If you stay, I will ruin you. Do you understand?" Her voice quivered, but she found strength within. "And if I refuse?" His lips curved into a cruel smirk. "Then I will destroy your name, your memory, even your grave. You will vanish, and no one will ever know you existed." Tears welled in her eyes, but she held her chin high. "Do your worst, Chief, but know this: you cannot erase what your son and I share. Not with all your wealth, not with all your threats." He narrowed his eyes, a predator staring at prey that refused to cower. "We'll see." When Ade learned what had happened, rage consumed him. He stormed into the family boardroom the next morning, interrupting a meeting of shareholders and political allies. "This charade ends today," he declared, his voice echoing against the high ceilings. "I will not marry Simi. I will not be your puppet. If that means losing everything, so be it." Gasps filled the room. Simi's face went pale, then crimson. His father's jaw tightened. His mother wept silently. "You shame us," Chief Adeyemi growled. "No, father," Ade replied, his eyes steady. "You shame yourself by chaining your son to a loveless prison." Then he walked out, leaving a stunned silence behind him. Whispers spread beyond the family walls. Newspapers caught wind of the scandal. Rumors flew across Lagos of betrayal, of forbidden love, of dynasties at war. Some mocked Ade as a fool. Others secretly admired his courage. But Simi was not finished. If she couldn't have Ade, then she would ensure no one else could. Her next move was darker, sharper, more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. Simi sat alone in her penthouse suite, Lagos city lights flickering beneath her like a jeweled crown. She poured herself another glass of red wine, staring at her reflection in the window. Behind her painted lips and flawless gown, a storm raged. "How dare he?" she whispered, her voice trembling with venom. "How dare Ade humiliate me? For her." Her nails dug into the glass stem until it cracked, spilling red across her hand like blood. She didn't even flinch. If Ade thought he could walk away, she would remind him of who she was in Olawale. Power ran in her veins. Wealth was her weapon. And Bola? Bola was nothing but a pawn to be crushed. Meanwhile, Bola lived in torment. She moved about the mansion with quiet steps, avoiding Simi's glare, avoiding the servants' whispers. Each corner of the house held danger. Each passing hour felt like borrowed time. One evening, as she scrubbed the marble floors, she felt a shadow fall over her. Looking up, she saw Madame Adeyemi, her eyes weary but sharp. "Child," Madame said softly, almost kindly, "you don't belong here. You will only bring ruin to yourself and to him. Leave now while you still can." Bola lowered her gaze, her heart aching. "Madam, I never sought this. I never asked for his love. But it found me, and I cannot turn away." Madame sighed, her face lined with sorrow. "Then may God give you strength, for you will need it." Ade met Bola later that night in the abandoned garden, their sanctuary. He found her sitting on the stone bench, tears staining her cheeks. "They want me gone, Ade," she whispered. "Your mother, your father, Simi, they'll never stop until they destroy me." He knelt before her, lifting her chin so she met his eyes. His gaze burned with conviction. "Then let them come. Let them bring their threats, their scandals, their power. They will not move me. Bola, I will never let you go." Her breath hitched. "But what about your future?" He shook his head. "You are my future." And with those words he sealed his fate. Days later, scandal erupted. Tabloids splashed headlines across front pages. Adeyemi heir and forbidden's affair with maid. Adeyemi Olawale alliance in jeopardy. Dynasties at war over servant girl. The photos were damning grainy, but unmistakable images of Ade and Bola, together in the garden, her face tilted toward his in tenderness, his hand on hers. Bola's heart sank when she saw them. "Oh God, they'll destroy me now." Ade held her tightly. "It doesn't matter. Let them see the truth." But deep down, he knew this was no random leak. Only one person had the power and malice to orchestrate such an attack. Simi. That evening, Ade stormed into Simi's penthouse. She sat lounging in silk, sipping champagne, as if waiting for him. "Enjoy the papers?" she asked sweetly. "You did this," Ade growled. She tilted her head, feigning innocence. "Did what?" "Show the world the little fairy tale between you and your maid. Don't thank me yet, it gets better." His fists clenched. "Stay away from her, Simi, if you so much as touch her." "Or what?" she cut in, rising to her feet, her eyes blazing. "You'll leave me at the altar? You'll shame both our families?" Newsflash, Ade, you already have. She stepped closer, her perfume sharp, her voice a hiss. You think you love her? She will ruin you. She will drag you into the dirt with her. And when that happens, don't come crawling back to me. Ade stared at her, his voice low but unyielding. I would rather lose everything with her than gain the world with you. Simi's smile faltered, her mask cracking. For the first time, she saw the steel in him, the fire she could not extinguish. But she wasn't done. Not yet. Simi's next move was crueler. One night, Bola was walking home from the market when two men stepped out of the shadows. They cornered her, their voices laced with menace. Message from Madame Simi, one sneered. Stay away from Ade, or you'll disappear. Fear gripped her heart, but Bola lifted her chin. Tell your madam, I am not afraid. They laughed coldly before shoving her to the ground and disappearing into the night. Bruised and shaken, Bola returned to the mansion. Ade, upon seeing her injuries, was consumed with fury. No more hiding, he declared. If they want war, they will have it. At the next family gathering, with both the Adeyemis and the Olawales seated in their gilded hall, Ade stood before them all. I will not marry Simi, he announced, his voice ringing through the hall. I will not be bound by wealth or power. My heart belongs to Bola, and no force on earth will tear us apart. Chaos erupted. The Olawales shouted of betrayal, of disgrace. Chief Adeyemi thundered threats of disownment. Madame Adeyemi wept into her hands. Simi sat in silence, her eyes dark, her lips curved into a smile that promised vengeance. For in her heart she had already planned her final move. Simi's silence after Ade's public declaration was more terrifying than her rage. For weeks she vanished from the family circle. No calls, no appearances, no dramatic confrontations. It was as if she had accepted defeat. But those who knew her best whispered that silence was her sharpest weapon. And indeed she was plotting. In the hidden corners of Lagos underworld, Simi reached out to men who owed the Olawales favors. Men who lived in shadows, who dealt not in contracts and handshakes, but in whispers and blades. If Bola thinks she can take what's mine, Simi murmured to them one night, her red lips curling over her glass of wine, then let her pay the price of thieves. The men nodded, their eyes glinting with dangerous promise. Meanwhile, Bola felt the weight of it all pressing down on her chest. Every glance from the servants carried suspicion. Every whispered conversation stopped when she entered the room. Every night she dreamed of shadows chasing her. One evening she confided in Ade. Ade, she said, her voice breaking, I can't do this anymore. Your world was never built for me. I don't belong here, and every day proves it. I am a wound they will never stop trying to close. Let me go before they destroy us both. Ade's hands closed over hers with desperate strength. Don't say that. Don't you see, Bola? You are the only truth in a world built on lies. Without you, I am nothing but my father's puppet, Simi's trophy. With you, I am me. Tears filled her eyes. But at what cost, Ade? He pulled her into his arms, his voice a vow against the night. At any cost. The Adeyemis hosted a lavish gala to silence rumors and restore their fractured reputation. Chandeliers blazed, violins played. and Lagos high society gathered in glittering gowns and sharp tuxedos. Simi arrived late, shimmering in a golden dress that caught every eye. She moved through the hall like a queen unchallenged, her smile flawless, her laughter melodic. But her heart was ice. She had arranged everything carefully. The servants who poured the wine were hers tonight. The glass meant for Bola was already prepared, a drink that promised no return. Bola, hesitant and quiet, stood at Ade's side. Though she wore only a simple gown, her grace outshone the jeweled women around her. Many whispered, some mocked, but others watched with grudging admiration. As the first toast was raised, a servant approached with a tray of crystal glasses. Bola reached for one, but Ade, without thought, picked it up first. Simi froze. The glass hovered at Ade's lips. A sip, and everything she had planned would collapse into disaster. Her hand clenched at her side, her nails digging into her palm until blood bloomed. And then fate shifted. Madame Adeyemi, smiling faintly, reached forward and plucked the glass from Ade's hand. "To family," she said softly before drinking. Time slowed. Simi's eyes widened in horror as the matriarch sipped deeply from the poisoned cup. Moments later, chaos erupted. Madame Adeyemi collapsed, her body trembling, her lips paling. Screams filled the hall. Guests rushed forward. The violinist stopped. The chandeliers seemed to dim. Ade knelt beside his mother, shaking her gently. "Mama, Mama, stay with me." But she was fading fast. Simi stood frozen, her mask cracking, terror etched across her face. This was not the plan. This was not supposed to happen. Chief Adeyemi roared for doctors, for ambulances, for order in the storm. And amidst the chaos, Bola's eyes met Simi's. In that fleeting second, the truth passed between them. Bola knew, and Simi knew she knew. The ambulance sirens wailed through the Lagos night, carrying Madame Adeyemi away. Ade's shirt was stained with the memory of her collapse. His hands trembling, his heart torn apart. Chief Adeyemi turned on his son. "This is your fault," he thundered. "If not for your rebellion, none of this disgrace would have touched us." Ade rose slowly, his eyes like fire. "No, Father, this is on you, on your greed, on the chains you forged for me." Then his gaze slid to Simi, who stood pale and shaking, her lips quivering though no sound left them. "And perhaps," Ade said coldly, "on those who would rather destroy than let go." Simi flinched as though struck. The Adeyemi mansion, once a palace of power, now throbbed with whispers of scandal and grief. Madame Adeyemi's life hung in the balance at St. Nicholas Hospital, and the city buzzed with rumors. Ade sat outside the ward, his head in his hands. Bola hovered nearby, wanting to comfort him, but afraid her presence would draw more venom. Behind them, Chief Adeyemi paced like a lion in a cage, fury simmering beneath his polished suit. He barked into his phone, calling lawyers, allies, anyone who could salvage the family's collapsing empire. And then Simi arrived. She wore no satin gown, no painted mask. Her hair was undone, her eyes bloodshot, her lips trembling. For once, she looked human, broken, fragile, haunted. Ade's head snapped up. His voice was ice. "Why are you here?" I didn't mean for this to happen," Simi whispered, her body shaking. Bola's eyes widened. What do you mean? Simi's tears spilled freely now, her voice cracking. It wasn't supposed to be her. The glass, the poison. It was meant for you, Bola. The hallway froze. Nurses glanced uneasily. Chief Adeyemi's face went ashen. Ade rose slowly, fury and disbelief flooding him. You tried to kill her? Simi shook her head desperately, as if denial could rewrite the truth. I just wanted to end it. To end you too. To stop this madness before it ruined everything. I didn't want this. Ade stepped closer, his voice low but sharp as a blade. You wanted to erase the only woman I have ever loved. Do you know what that makes you, Simi? Not just cruel, not just jealous, but a murderer. Police were called. Whispers turned into statements. Simi's scheme unraveled under the weight of her own confession. The Olawales, once towering figures in Lagos high society, distanced themselves, their empire crumbling under scandal. But before the officers led her away, Simi turned to Ade, her eyes hollow. You'll regret this, she said softly. You'll see one day love cannot feed you. Love cannot shield you. Love cannot hold an empire together. Ade's jaw tightened. He almost answered, but then he looked at Bola. Her trembling hands folded over her chest, her eyes wide with both fear and hope. And in that moment his silence was answer enough. Weeks passed. Madame Adeyemi survived, though frail. She lay in her hospital bed, her hand clasping Ade's. Her voice was weak, but her words steady. My son, she whispered, I see now. The chains we tried to bind you with only drove you to rebellion. Perhaps we forgot that love, too, as a kind of wealth. Do not waste it. Not as I did. Tears burned Ade's eyes as he kissed her hand. Thank you, Mama. Chief Adeyemi, however, never softened. He cut Ade off entirely, stripping him of his inheritance. You are no longer my son, he said coldly. Go live in the gutter you have chosen. Ade only bowed once, then walked away. For the first time, he felt truly free. Ade and Bola left the mansion together, with nothing but a small suitcase and each other. They moved into a modest flat near the lagoon, where the sound of the waves carried through the night. Life was hard. Ade took up work in small businesses, learning to build with his own hands instead of inherited power. Bola found work as a seamstress, her quiet grace winning hearts in the community. They had no fortune, no empire, no gilded chains, but they had peace. They had laughter. They had love. And for Ade, that was more than enough. Years later, Lagos whispered a different story, of a man who turned his back on riches for the sake of a woman, of a maid who became the quiet strength of his life, of dynasties that crumbled because they forgot what truly mattered. In the evenings, as the sun dipped over the lagoon, Ade would sit beside Bola on their small balcony, their hands intertwined. And sometimes, when the breeze was gentle, he would whisper, Do you regret it? Bola would smile softly, her eyes glowing in the fading light. Never, because though we lost the world, we found each other. And in that moment, Ade knew. The chains were broken. The love was true. And nothing else mattered. Do you think Ade made the right decision? Please like, subscribe, comment, and turn on your notification button.